So one of the ways that we teach group dynamics here at Teachers College in the Organizational Psychology program is using an experiential group relations conference. It's based in the Tavistock tradition, which dates back to the period of World War II. And a group relations conference is a lived experience of group dynamics. So our students participate in a weekend conference where they are members of groups. They are members of small groups, of large groups. The groups are largely unstructured, but the idea is that they're actually living the group dynamics and studying them as they experience them. So we have directors of the conferences, and there are consultants who work in the conferences guiding the participants somewhat, but really offering more observations on the experience, opportunities to learn about the experience, rather than didactic material or telling them what to do. So students in a group relations conference, participants in a group relations conference, get to really experience leadership, authority, people not following their idea, what it feels like to have a group think their idea is fantastic. They get to experience choosing a group. They get to experience trying to negotiate across groups to get a task done, when really there are not clear lines of who's in charge. And what they take away from this is a real kind of in-your-bones experience of what it's like to navigate a group and navigate group life with people who are different from you, who are interesting, less interesting, exciting, annoying, fun, sort of all of the variation that we humans are. And they learn about kind of what works, what doesn't work.
So the group relations component of the course is one of the really delightful portions of it. In addition to teaching the theory course, I also direct the group relations conference, and there are a set of us that rotate. So sometimes we're teaching and sometimes we're directing. And I love the combination of that, first of all. I love being able to be kept close to the theory, but also work with students directly in the role of director in the conference setting. There's something also about that particular methodology that I think you can really not find anyplace else, that brings these concepts to life and allows students to make a connection between the other groups in which they've been a member, family groups, peer groups, study groups, teams, all of these, and their experience in the conference, where all of us are making sense together of what those dynamics are. So it has tremendous, I think, intensity and power, and it has tremendous application. I like to think of it as a gift that keeps giving. I do really use it in my life quite a bit. I do conferences in other settings, and whenever I am sitting with a patient, or if I'm doing consultation in an organizational setting, I'm using those very same frames to make sense of what's before me. So I'm thinking about, well, what are the dynamics of authority here? For example, and that's not just my authority in my role, let's say, as consultant or therapist, but also the other person's authority as well. What are the ways in which we authorize ourselves or not to step up to a particular task? So these frames, I think, are tremendously useful forever and in many, many contexts. So I feel like that component is what makes this a really, really special course.
Because it's experiential, I think it's learning that makes people a little off kilter in a good way. It makes them think in ways that that you can't think just by reading about group dynamics in a textbook. It helps them sort of feel what it's like to be a leader who's really authorized. It helps them feel what it's like when folks don't follow their idea. And I think that the learning is, because it's experiential in that way, is incredibly powerful for making changes, for learning about self, learning about strategies that are effective in their groups and organizations when they leave school and beyond. So our students and alums tell me all the time how inspiring the group relations conference experience was in terms of their understanding of self, their understanding of teams, their understanding of organizations, that they go back to that experience again and again and again, even years later, as really having learned lessons about how to be a better group member, how to be a better person, and that learning continues to enrich them for years after it's over.
So in the Group Dynamics course, there is a thing called the Group Relations Conference that everyone has to go through. It's a core part of the program. And one of the things that it showed me is that people tend to have different needs and desires that they bring to a conversation. And those usually get expressed through different ways and different behaviors. And what that conference was able to show me is both my natural inclinations and how that plays off of others, but it also allowed me to see where other people are coming from and their perspectives, and I can also adjust my approach, the things that I want to say, the things that I have to get across when working with other clients now by understanding where they're coming from and what they want to bring to a conversation.
So another, I think, really touching for me and I think important for the students opportunity that comes out of the group relations conferences is that some people really just love it and they decide that they'd like to pursue it in one way or another, and we have opportunities for them to do that here. So some of them decide that they'd like to be an administrator for the conference, and then that gives them kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So they've been through the conference experience as a member, and then they're on staff, but they're not yet ready to be in a consulting role. But they are privy to all of the discussions that staff are having about the dynamics of the conference. So it's tremendously learningful and tremendously helpful role for us because we couldn't do the conferences without having people in the admin role. So that opportunity to see students really grow in this way, to see them, their sort of the light bulb go off as they start to really understand these concepts, and then move on to eventually become consultants in their own right and go off and take these conferences in other kinds of settings is very, very rewarding. So it gives a really wonderful opportunity for us as faculty to interact with the students in that particular venue.